Organize Yourself for a Better Life is a 60-minute discussion about what you can do to organize yourself to have a happier and better life. One of the things that I've noticed about organization is that people who are organized and have their stuff together generally are more relaxed, sleep better at night, and have a better life. What has intrigued me about it is whether it's in business or in personal life, so many people resist this because they think it's a sign of being not that creative, not that smart, and it's a burden upon them to be organized. What they often miss is that one reason they're distressed is that they're constantly like a person trying to chase a train that's left the station. Then I looked a little deeper into it, and I realized in talking to various therapists and psychiatrists that none of them had a client that wasn't sloppy and or was on time. In other words, every client that was having problems generally was sloppy. That doesn't mean unclean, but it means sloppy, and was late for many things. Now, the therapist and the psychiatrist went into long paroxysms of pain about why this was true, and that it really wasn't what I thought it was. But what intrigued me about it was they all admitted that they didn't have any clients and never had a client that was on time and organized. It was an interesting point. So the benefit of being organized is not just to have your shoes in the right rack or to have the right amount of milk in the refrigerator or to be on time for an appointment to see Aunt Jane. The benefit is for yourself. You go to bed, you've done what you can do, and you move on. Harry Truman is famous for this because he was often asked, well, when you go to bed, don't you worry about stuff? And he says, no, I did all I could do, and tomorrow's another day. And I think this is the motivation for doing this, because before we start worrying about getting you organized, there better be a benefit, or why should you do so? The first step is to get in the habit of limiting activities in your life. The first problem I've found with disorganized people, and I've had thousands of employees and lots of relatives and friends and everything else, is the first habit of a disorganized and upset person is they try to put 10 pounds in a 5-pound bag. They overschedule themselves. They count on all green lights and highways, which I mean by that is they don't count on a traffic jam, a stoplight, or anything. They think everything's going to be smooth despite years and often decades of history that it isn't that way. So the first thing you need to think about, and we're going to talk about, is less is more. How do you take your life and offload activities that are getting in your way, making you unable to keep together, and making you late? So where do we start? The first place is to start fast every day. And the way to start fast is to give yourself some slack. So get up 15 minutes early and get started in your day. The second thing is don't be obsessive about this. One of the things that people worry about is they fall off the other side of the horse and think, well, I've been a slob, so now I have to be totally neat and nobody can do anything in my house and so forth. That makes no sense either. The second thing you want to do here is be consistent. In other words, you want to see if you can set appointments and times and things to do in a consistent way so it becomes less of a burden on you. And the final point in the preliminary really is the can and won't trap. What is the can and won't trap? Well, lots of people can do things, but they refuse to do them. In other words, they can be on time, but for various reasons, they want to be the last person in the room. They can do the work, but they don't want to do the work. They can eat Aunt Jane's salad, but they don't want to eat Aunt Jane's salad. All of these things of withholding. There's a book called The Guide to Rational Living by Albert Ellis, which is well worth getting hold of. And he found that most people know what to do. It's just a matter of not doing it. And when I say what to do, is what to do to get on with difficult relationships, what to do to get on with the boss. They don't do it. So as we go through this, what do we think about? Well, first of all, you should sit back and relax and use this time to think about what I consider starting good habits. Nobody can do the marathon the first time out. You're not going to become totally organized the first time out. But small progress is the best way to feel good about what you're doing and get your life under control.